Hey everyone, welcome to Two Car Pros. My name is Ryan, and today we'll be continuing our how to build a Ford 5.4 liter 3-valve with part 9. In this episode, we'll be putting on our engine isolators, our oil pan, our exhaust studs, our NOx sensors, and our front damper, plus our head temp sender and our coolant pipe that runs from the back of the water pump to the heater core. It's really important to get that one right because you don't want your lifter valley full of water in the future. It'd be a real pain in the butt. Before we go any further, let's go ahead and thank our amazing sponsor, Summit Racing. Summit Racing has been with us for a few years now. We've built quite a few engines with them, and it has been amazing working with them. They have amazing selection, incredible customer service, easy returns, and every part you could possibly want or need. So make sure you get all your speed parts from summitracing.com. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and start episode 9 by putting our oil pan on. So now we can focus on putting our oil pan on, and I've already cleaned the mating surface very well with carburetor spray and a nice microfiber towel. But what I'm going to do is take our very best friend, Permatex Ultra Slick Black RTV, and I'm just going to put a blob in all four corners where the front cover meets the block and where the rear cover meets the block, because you're asking a lot out of that gasket to take up that tolerance, because I mean, it's not a solid piece of metal, so it's always going to have that like propensity to leak, and just a little smear of RTV really seems to help not run into leaks earlier. Just do it and trust me, it really helps. Next, we can put our gasket on down, making sure that the 4 holes are over the front cover and the 2 are on the back. And then you see these little tangs right here that are kind of sticking up. Make sure those are sticking up towards your pan. And we can just set that on down where it is going to be. Ooh, that looks very nice. And we have our oil pan, which is my stock pan. So I know it's going to work with my stock pickup. All I did was clean this up and spray paint it gloss black so I can wipe oil off of it in the future. Nice thumping sound, very cool. You don't want to move the gasket around too much, you don't want to disturb a lot of the RTV. And we can just replace the bolts that we got out originally when we took the engine apart. And I'm just going to get those started with my fingers like this. And then once all the bolts are in, I'm going to start bringing them down to touch, which just means the slack between the thread and the head of the bolt is just touching the oil pan, and I'm going to do that in kind of a spiral pattern. So I'm going to turn the camera on when I'm done with that. So now we can start torquing these down, and it's actually 15 foot-pounds plus 60 degrees. So I'm going to grab this torque wrench that doesn't have a degreeing function, and I'm just going to start by bringing all of them down to 15 foot-pounds. I've already brought them down to what I call touch. The head of the bolt is touching the top of the pan. So we're going to go in a spiral. Just essentially means working from the inside out. And yeah, it's a little laborious, and you know, don't get interrupted because it's kind of rough to lose your spot. But just work your way if you're inside out, you know, just go in a spiral like this out. First stage complete. Now we can grab our other torque wrench that has that, you know, degreeing functionality and set that to 60 degrees is the official torque spec. If you got aftermarket bolts that aren't torque to yield, they probably have their own torque spec, but I'm just using stock bolts and it should be good. So go ahead and pull that on the degree thing. Honestly, I think 60 degrees additional is a little bit too much. 30 degrees is 27.2 foot-pounds. I'm really more comfortable with that, and that's what I'm going to do. Feel free to follow the exact spec at your own discretion. I think it's a little bit too tight, so I am calling that in, and you know what? If it is just a little bit too loose, all it's going to do is weep oil a teeny tiny bit. It's really not the end of the world. And I doubt it's going to leak even a little bit, because this gasket is like a superhero gasket. And there we go, the oil pan's installed. So So now we can replace our oil pan drain bolt, and I've already put the new O-ring on there, the new seal out of our kit. So we can just put that back in there. Oh, that looks so nice. And then we can tighten it down to 10 foot-pounds, which sounds perfectly reasonable if you ask me. And if you have a torque wrench, just feel it out. One arm tight, wrist tight, something like that. There you go. Not very tight at all, just tell you that much. So let's go ahead and put on our exhaust manifold studs. I'm gonna go studs here. It had studs originally, and I wanna go back to that. I think it's a really good design. This is what one of them looks like, and the link is down below in the description. I just bought these with my own money, and they're made of stainless steel, available on Amazon. They're not like a super rare part or something. And there's no like torque spec with this either. Basically, you put it in by hand, and then just wrist tight with a T-handle, and it is installed. So go ahead and do that for every single exhaust port. And sometimes these threads get a little boogered, essentially, and you can chase them out with a tap and be good to go. I've already done that for all of these. But sometimes you're good when you take them out and you get away with it and everything's fine, but if you chase them out with a tap, that's fine too. It's not that crazy or unexpected. So just go ahead and put all these studs, little wrist tight, no torque spec for you. Go ahead and do that for every single exhaust port. Okay, so let's focus on putting our engine isolators on. You might hear me refer to this as a motor mount. Yes, I know it is not a motor, it uses fuel, not electricity, but colloquialisms do exist. So we're gonna focus on the passenger one. The driver one's exactly the same, except it is completely different looking. This is our passenger replacement unit, and a link is down below in the description to this. It does not come with this plate. You have to source this yourself off of your old truck, essentially, or your old engine build, rather. And what we can do is just put it down, put our new engine isolator like that down on it, and then just bolt it up on the back side. And we're going to use a 14mm socket to tighten them down. Decently snug. These are pretty good bolts, and they hold your engine to your frame. So with that out of the way and nice and attached, looks amazing, we can go back over to our engine. So then we can put our engine mount / bracket on its home, and it only bolts to the engine in 3 places. So I have those bolts, and those are just the stock bolts. I didn't get replacements or anything. They're fine to reuse. I'm just gonna use my 13mm socket just to kind of snug those down. And then the torque specification is 30 foot-pounds. So that's pretty easy. There we go. And the cool thing is the driver's side is exactly the same, except it has that, a little bit more goofy looking motor mount with the big old hole through it, at least if you have 4-wheel drive. If you have 2-wheel drive, it'll look a little bit different, but the process is exactly the same. So let's go ahead and talk about what is gonna go in our, I'm gonna refer to it as a lifter valley. I know it's technically not one, but it's where a normal lifter valley on a normal engine would be. And basically these are things that really can't go wrong when we put our engine back together, because if it does, you have to take the intake manifold back off, and it is a huge headache, and I want to avoid that. One of them is the coolant temp sensor, or cylinder head temp sensor. That's what this is, and essentially this tells the computer how hot the engine is. That is the actual Ford OEM part number, and I do recommend getting a Ford OEM part for that. And you don't have to worry about sealant or anything, because it doesn't actually go into water. It just kind of sits in the head with no contact to water, and it just kind of tells how hot the metal is. Interesting, right? Then there are these 2 O-rings. They're made by Molly, and there is the part number, and the link is, of course, down below in the description. You get 2 of these O-rings, so you can put it on your old heater core tube, and we'll show you exactly how to put that together. The last thing in the lifter valley is our NOx sensors. I have these made by Bosch, pretty reputable company, and I've used their stuff before and really like them. Just make sure that they're the same connector, and it is, and it looks nice and snazzy like this one does. Looks very good, and there's only one type of NOx sensor, it just has 2 of them, so keep that in mind.
and I would definitely splurge for all new stuff for here. I am reusing this tube because it is in pretty good shape. If yours is even a little rusty, just get a new one. Don't mess with it. But mine looks okay in that regard, and I've cleaned it out very thoroughly anyway, and I've got those new O-rings. So let's go ahead and put everything on. So where you're looking now is the back side of the water pump, and here's that outlet spout. I think you can get this tapped out or tapped back in if this becomes damaged, because it is independent of the casting, but I really don't want to mess with that because I do not want it leaking, and mine is perfectly fine, so I'm just going to reuse it. So I'm going to grab these O-rings that came with in those Molly packaging, and then I'm just going to get my little hook tool and just bump it to the next groove, because it takes 2 O-rings. I guess they extra don't want this thing to leak, which is understandable. There we go, maybe roll them back and forth so you know that they're sitting in their home and not all like twisted. They really need to be completely nice and happy, because sometimes when you put an O-ring on, it can become twisted and then it'll leak. So make sure that these are nice and flat and not all rolled up. Now, here is somewhere where I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get blowback from armchair mechanics. I'm going to go ahead and put RTV on these O-rings. That is not the technical way to do it, but it's the way I'm doing it, and I'm going to guarantee that it's not going to leak. So if you're smart, you do it that way. If you're technical and you want to follow the technical way to do it, go ahead and put some WD-40 on these O-rings and hope they don't leak. Because taking the intake manifold back off just does not sound like my idea of a fun time. There you go, just a nice skin of RTV on there. Look, just help it along, and the RTV is gonna help lubricate the O-rings anyway, just like we've done previously on this build. I really think it's the hot ticket. I think it's the way to go. And then of course, we can grab our tube and then just slide it on in there. Just like that. And then on the back of the cylinder head, you have this kind of funky looking bolt with a big stud on it. And that is a 13mm for the socket. I'm just going to line that up, get it started. And then you can kind of see where it was sitting before all those years. Just kind of line it up on that mark. Just snug is fine. I don't have a torque spec for you, but there you go. And then I'm going to grab my head temperature sensor and just put that back into its home. It's on the passenger head only, and grab a 19mm wrench. Now, there is no sealant, there is no O-ring, there's no nothing, because it doesn't actually go into water, and I'm sure there's a torque specification, but I can't get a socket over the electrical connector, so I'm not sure how you're going to do that. But you just want to do kind of wrist tight on this, because you can snap it really easy, and do not grab it by the plastic bit either. That is all I'm going to give it, not very tight at all. I would call it wrist tight. And then I'm also going to grab the part of the wiring harness. It's just basically a converter that goes from this sort of square plug to this more rounded plug. It's just an adapter for the wiring harness, but I'm going to go ahead and put it on now so I don't forget it. So now let's worry about our knock sensors, and we're just going to put these in. Got these nice Bosch ones. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to orientate the tail. Like, you don't want it touching like the block or anything. You kind of want the tail hanging out in free space like this. And I'm just going to do that like this and like this, so that way they're kind of orientated opposite of each other. I think that's how I took it apart too. So, but you just don't want the tail of it interacting with anything and maybe giving it a false negative, or false positive rather, excuse me. So grab a 10mm socket and set your torque wrench to 20. Let's see, it wanted to turn on me. There we go. There's one. And there's two. Perfect, that looks awesome. And then we'll just run the wires for the knock sensors kind of just back towards the back of the engine, but don't worry about that too much, because we don't want anything getting in the way of our engine to transmission marriage. Let's go ahead and talk about putting our damper on. This is my stock damper that was sent with my rotating assembly to be balanced, so everything is balanced with this as a part of the equation. And Before we even get started, I usually put these on with the proper tool, but the tool I have has like 2 or 3 threads of engagement. So I'm going to go ahead and use the old bolt and just send it on down. And for a actual like replacement bolt, because this is torque to yield, this is the old bolt, it's basically junk, I'm just using it as an installation tool. I have this replacement bolt sent over by our friends at Summit Racing, made by ARP. This is such a kick butt bolt, and it is reusable because it's not torque to yield, so it has a little bit different tightening instructions than a stock one. So if you have a stock one, go for the stock torque to yield setting. I'm going to use whatever ARP says, and I'm sure the instructions are underneath the assembly loop. So before we put the damper on, I'm going to go ahead and grab some of my racing grease and just apply it to the damper outside race. And the reason I'm a little ginger with this is because I've left this outside on a very hot day, and it is scalding to the touch. You know, be careful, but you really want the damper to be warm. And why is that? You want it pretty good and pretty hot. You want it like 140 degrees or so, because the metal expands just a little bit and it makes installing it a little easier. So you might want to work quickly, and I'm speaking faster than normal. That's why I'm doing that, because I don't want that to cool back down. Also, I forgot to mention, we're going to grab some RTV and we're going to put it on the inside race of our damper, because oil does go through there and we don't want it leaking out the front of the crank snout. So just put a little bit of silicone rubber in there to help it out. So go ahead and grab your crankshaft damper and line up the Woodruff key with the key on the crank snout. There we go. You'll only want to go on one way. There is no wrong way to put it on, it only goes on one correct way. And I've already greased up my bolt and washer, my old ones, because we want everything to just go on nice and smooth, and that's going to help us out. So I can't actually get any kind of thread engagement with the bolt, so I'm just getting my rubber mallet and I'm just going to kind of tap it around. It's not going to work for the whole thing, but it might give me enough clearance in order to get a lot of threads on there like that. That seems pretty good. Grab my impact driver with a 18mm socket. Now let's see what happens. There we go, and it'll just stop. And basically, you know you're done when the thing just kind of stops moving. It won't go back any further like this one is. So I think we're ready for our special bolt and a torque spec. All right, so what I've done is I've taken my very special ARP bolt and I've applied lubricant to the threads under the washer and then between the head of the bolt and the washer. It's a little difficult to see because it's, you know, all black. What we can do is go ahead and thread that into the end of our crank snout and then just bring it down until it's touching like that. And this is a 12 point, the original is a 6 point, and it is a 18mm 12 point. The torque spec for the ARP stuff is 100 foot-pounds, and I have a helper in the back of the engine on the end of the crankshaft with the flex plate bolts holding with a long pry bar, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. But let's go ahead and get this guy torqued down. Luckily, it should be pretty simple, not bad at all. Check that out. 103 foot-pounds. That's absolutely perfect. Now the stock Ford one is a torque to yield, so you'll go down to a certain foot-pound and then you'll have to degree it, but you have to hold it the exact same way as the engine, and you will use that original Ford fastener, not this upgraded ARP one. So what I've done is put 2 flex plate bolts back in the back of the crankshaft, and then I just have this really long, nice pry bar, and it just kind of sits like this, and when the engine is being torqued the other way, it gets held against this pry bar and you're able to tighten that bolt on down. You can sometimes get it wedged in the apparatus for the engine stand, something like that, and you can get away with it doing that way. I've done that before, but I have a helper, so I'm going to use his help and hold the engine and get that all torqued down nice.
So that was part 9 of how to build your Ford 5.4 liter 3-valve engine. I have made this series so anybody can follow along, and every single nut and bolt is shown. I'm trying to make this as hand-holdy as possible so I can help as many people as possible rebuild your Ford truck engine and have a nice, reliable truck for a lot less than a new one. Thank you so very much for watching. If you found this video helpful or interesting at all, please consider giving a like or even subscribing. It really helps my channel out. Thanks again for watching. Thank you, Summit Racing, for sponsoring this video, and I'll see you next time.